Welcome back to What Was That? We are now recording, I think, the 6,324th week in a row. This is episode 28,221. Nitesh, how does it feel to be so old?
I think this is a sign, okay? It's divine intervention. The income tax department is giving you the option in your annual income tax return to put your profession as influencer.
I will have to pay much more tax. I will have to pay much more tax. No, 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 no. Actually, tell me this. There was this loophole, right? 6%, declare 6%, and now it is, what, 50% is, now it falls into the consulting wala scene, that you have to book 50% of your income as expenses.
I have no idea.
नहीं कुछ हुआ है इस हफ्ते.
Okay.
Which is why you should not declare yourself as influencer, because it's a trap. It's a trap. No, so I figured you are the tax guy, and also because you have a business, you are the income guy. I am a startup, so I'm not income, not tax. But yeah, so they did something this week that right now influencers were using some mechanism where they were only paying tax on 6% of their income. And now they're being moved into the regular, freelancer consultant type setup where 50% of your income is declared as taxable
Right.
after expenses, and then you pay tax on that. Something is happening. So
I'm not savvy with any of this क्योंकि काम नहीं पड़ता. But hopefully we go places and we have the privilege of finding out new arcane ways of paying tax.
I know. What are you doing? Lenskart, Bisque Farm. Who else? Who else?
No, you need to monetize your influence to start paying taxes. It's 6% off something, and right now 6% of zero is zero, right? So, Piyush Basal, if you're listening, what are you doing, man?
Anything exciting? Any new asides this week? I think we should just rename our podcast to Rabbit Holes. That is the best part of it, right?
We might get misclassified on some podcasting platform.
But yeah, some Rule 34 somewhere. Here is a rabbit and never
For the record, we are making an Alice in Wonderland reference, and wherever else the internet takes it, we are not responsible or liable for that.
We are not 4chan, which is now dead. So yeah, should we begin? Should we go for it? This is exciting. I have two stories and you have one. This is a new high or low for the podcast. You are you are supposed to be the research guy. I'm supposed to be the faffer. What is going on here? I know nothing. And in fact, my first story is a very in-depth look at an area which I have no clue about. I'm just very interested because it signals so much from a geopolitical, business, economy, tech, everything standpoint. Solar power. The story basically last month, New Yorker put out an excerpt from a book by this guy who's looking at how solar power is very, very, very rapidly going to change the world. It is spreading so fast and so far beyond anyone's expectations. You go back 20 years, 15 years, 10 years and look at people's predictions, even the most optimistic. They were not here. So it is growing so fast that people can't even interpret what all influences will have. And in fact, it also discusses one reason why the predictions are not accurate and why it's sort of still flying under the radar is because most of it is happening in China and by China.
Right.
So let's get into a look at some of the quite crazy numbers here. And this is all fact checked. I haven't personally done all of the fact checking, obviously, but I've done a significant amount and it matches up. It took from the invention of the photovoltaic solar cell in 1954 until 2022 for the world to install 1 terawatt of solar power. The second terawatt came 2 years later. And the third will arrive later this year or early next year. So we've gone from 1954 is how many years ago? 70 years ago. And then 2 years, maybe replicated that, and now probably in another year. People are now putting up a gigawatt's worth of solar panels every 15 hours. And that is the equivalent of an average coal plant.
Right.
Every 15 hours. Last year, 96% of the global demand for new electricity was met by renewables. And even in the US, 93% of new capacity came from solar, wind, and now batteries. Battery tech is now the latest bastion, which is just very rapidly speeding up. There's a lot of data here. We will of course link to this. But some of the impacts. California is so far using 40% less natural gas to generate electricity than it did in 2023. Texas is now installing renewable energy and batteries faster than California. So there are also a lot of worries about renewable energy that it can't handle peak loads. The opposite is happening. The risk is reducing. In late June, the director of the state's, this is Texas, Texas's utility system said that the chances of emergency outages had dropped from 16% last summer to less than 1% this year, because there's 10,000 megawatts of solar power and battery storage that's been added. And this, we're talking about flood season. So it's actually enhancing the reliability of the power grid by a huge factor. China is, of course, the granddaddy here. In May, according to government records, China installed a record 93 gigawatts of solar power, 1 gigawatt every 8 hours. And total carbon emissions in China have actually decreased for a sustained period for like the first time. It happened during COVID till now. COVID, of course, being a unique case.
Right.
Until the first time in a regular year when manufacturing is still going on at usual pace, usual growth, that, emissions have fallen. South America, there were plans, so I'm still reading from the article, a decade ago, there were plans to build 15 new coal-fired power plants. This spring, there are none. In India, and this was, like I saw a flyer by the government on Twitter. Data last month showed that from January through April, a surge in solar production kept the country's coal use flat and also cut the amount of natural gas used during the same period in 2024 by a quarter. That's a huge drop, which is insane. Insane levels of solar power happening here also. I've spoken enough about the data. I'll just talk about other impacts that this gets into. This is a fantastic article and just so well argued, so well written. Batteries. Over the past 15 years, the cost of energy storage has dropped 95%.
Yeah.
And on July 7th, a round of bidding between battery companies showed another 30% drop in price. Grid scale batteries have become so large that they can power whole cities for hours at a time now. And the other thing it gets into is just how geopolitically solar and wind, where there is solar, there's either solar or wind in most places, right? So you just pick and choose whatever your area generates more of. And geopolitically, that frees you up so much. Also, other impacts. So people talk about how even if you're using an EV, you are still basically relying on the grid, right? So it could still be dirty fuel. No, an electric vehicle uses 2 to 3 times less energy than an internal combustion engine. So even an EV charged with power from a coal-fired plant is still far more efficient. E-biking. I would love to get an e-bike, but I will fall into a pothole here, or a Scorpio will kill me on the pavement. An e-bike typically can provide 30 miles of range for about 8 cents, which is quite crazy. 8 cents because we are Indians, and I'm reading an American article.
Practically.
They are American prices.
Yeah.
That's practically free.
Yeah, as close to free as it gets.
The UK has now so much wind power going on that in 2024, its carbon emissions fell below where they were in 1879. And last September, they shuttered their last remaining coal-fired power station.
Oh, that's cool.
Pakistan is an extreme example. Pakistan is now using so much solar that there's entire YouTube channels and TikTok videos set to local music of how to pick from 10 different Chinese solar panels. And this article says that solar panels have gotten so cheap that the mounts, the iron mounts that you install the panels on are more expensive now than the panels themselves, but some just lay them out on the ground.
Whoa.
So Solar electricity is pumping a lot of water. Diesel sales in Pakistan apparently fell 30% in 2024.
Because they moved to EVs en masse, or the
Diesel gensets to bore wells, etc. So
that's trick.
yeah, and now the last very interesting point here is the mining that goes into the rare earths, right, that we need.
Yeah.
Here also the interesting thing is that efficiency is growing so fast, productivity is growing so fast. I'll take this one specific example. In 2004, according to Germany's some society, Fraunhofer Society, it's a applied engineering research firm, 1 watt of solar power required about 16 grams of polysilicon. This has now dropped to 2 grams. The silver used in one solar panel built in 2010 would be enough for like 5 solar panels today. So by 2035, when the author's oldest solar panels start to go out of service, the minerals in each of those solar panels can provide enough minerals for 10 new solar panels. So some people are now estimating that by 2050 or 60, we'll have mined all the rare earths we'll ever need. And then we can just keep recycling those because they're getting more and more and more efficient. Mining. There's so much talk about all the mining. Yes, it is destructive. Absolutely. It is very destructive. But it is simultaneously a bit of a red herring because coal also needs to be mined. And coal, once you mine it, you burn it. These rare earths will last for a much longer time. So yeah, so that is my story. And there's basically other stuff that I've read talking about how there were two tipping points that solar has to reach. One is new solar projects should become cheaper than new oil and coal projects. That has already happened. That ship has sailed. Now, oil and coal new investments are for other reasons, which we will not get into, than for pure financial and geopolitical and geostrategic. The second is when existing stuff, when new solar becomes cheaper than existing coal. So, or existing oil. So, then time to shut those plants down. That also people are saying is coming very quickly. It is just getting so cheap. And this obviously has huge geopolitical implications of all kinds, economic implications of all kinds. Uh, we've had a world since World War II, which has been fairly oil driven economies. World order revolving around oil.
Yeah.
And I am as much a geopolitical expert as Winnie the Pooh. So I won't go deeper into that. But yeah, that's a big rejigging that is about to happen.
Word of advice: don't use Winnie the Pooh as an example for anything on the internet.
Anything China related, yeah.
That's it. This is a great story, man. It's like all positive. I'm as enthused about this as I was about Ozempic. This is great. It the two cycles probably fed off of each other, but solar got better just as battery tech got better. Because the two arguments that were made chiefly against solar was that, first of all, there's no sun at night, which is such a banal idiot argument. But
It's yes, I was. It's not sun at night. Ha 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 ha.
yeah, so there was a problem to be solved there,
Mm.
and it was solved. And the second was about peak loads. When you have spikes, sudden demands on the grid, because grid engineering is really complicated, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like both problems either have been solved or are close to being solved. That's great. It's awesome. If we are pulling less crude out of the ground, moving less crude around the world, that's awesome too.
Yeah, there's also the fact that 40% of global shipping is this raw materials,
Yeah.
is just coal and oil. So you move to solar, 40% of global shipping is just unnecessary now. Leave alone all the energy used in shipping itself. This is just as you move to natural, 40% of the need just goes.
Yeah.
And shipping, of course, like is incredibly destructive to the ocean ecosystem.
And the cool thing is that it's finally independently financially viable. You don't need additional incentives. ESG failed because it demanded of the market to forego profits for a higher cause. Markets are amoral. They don't work like that. So even artificially for a year or two ESG when it was really in trend, and every company had an ESG page on whatever presentation they were making. It it had to die, and it was inevitable. A, because the pendulum swung too far in that direction, which is the premise of season 3 of the HBO show Industry, which if you haven't watched and have even a tangential interest in investment banking, super show. Classic HBO, lots of sex, lots of jargon, fun. Okay. Uh, but this is great because there's no longer a please do this for the environment case.
Yes.
This is do this because it's cheaper. And you,
In every which way, it's in your self-interest.
yeah, and the market will always find its way there. And because it is also geopolitically freeing
Hmm.
for nations, it's great. Although, even with recycling, there is still a reordering where, because what 95% of the world's solar cells are still manufactured in China, right?
I would think, yeah, vast majority. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, this is a new kind of dependency.
Well, there are rare earths uh, in lot of places.
Yes, but nobody is mining them with the efficiency and scale that the Chinese do today.
Yeah, fair enough today. But
Yeah.
lithium sources have been found in many, many places.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
So, like one or two producers that you necessarily have to rely on.
Right. So, yeah, with that one word of caution, that again, there is concentration risk.
There is concentration. Right now, yes.
Yeah,
But the counterpoint to that concentration risk is this would not have happened if China had just not gone whole hog
yeah,
hands on for the
absolutely.
last 15 years.
Absolutely. Just this is riding a virtuous exponential curve. That is so good. It's so great to see that happen.
Like this story gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope.
For humanity. Yeah,
For
that's
humanity,
exciting.
there is a clean future that we're not heading into the matrix at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will still be dystopian, but at least the skies will be clear. Oh, that's nice. I'm sorry, I'm just not used to so much positivity in your.
I know, neither am I.
No, I've. This is awesome. It's great in every way, and yeah, there are incentives to get better at recycling materials, which is also great. I mean, barring the one point I mentioned, this is just a clear cut great story. It's just good. It's good for the environment. It's good for
Yeah.
humanity in general. Awesome. Very nice. Great pick.
And the sun is pumping so much energy into the earth, so much energy that we can just never use it up, no matter how much energy we need. We just can't.
It's the ultimate renewable source,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's if the sun were to stop shining, we would have other much bigger problems. So, in that sense,
I will, I'll be okay. I have a ring light. I'll be fine.
see, it just keeps coming back to this is the call of the world, Vineet. Accept it. Or turn to the dark side.
Yes.
You know it's within you.
I am declaring myself as an influencer.
Embrace gut. Vineet. Start doing hook steps on Instagram Reels. Come on.
Status. The ring light, like step into the ring light. So, where would, if you had to start thinking of implications of a world that is no longer dependent on oil,
Hmm.
you're the economics guy. What directions would you head in?
I, I'm terrified of all the tags you're putting on my shoulders. I feel like one of those no generals, no? Numbers guy, economics guy. There isn't enough space.
Business guy, library guy, half
Tax,
stocks guy.
tax guy. There isn't enough space for all those medals here.
It's like,
But
look, I want to be the guy who has no pressure on his shoulders, right? Like I know nothing. So one of us,
um, forget about no oil, even a less oil world
Yes.
is
Yeah.
is a much better world in so many ways. Straight up shipping, uh, so many geopolitical alliances right now are built around oil production and oil consumption. All of that can go away. The US entered and then pulled out of three harebrained wars in the Middle East just for oil. And God knows what other shenanigans they pulled off in South America and elsewhere earlier. This is great. What it has also led to, the oil regime that we have had for nearly 100 years now, is it is given disproportionate power to what are essentially back of nowhere nation states, right? That if you take oil out of the equation, they suddenly lose like 90% of their relevance to the world stage. That's the only card they have. So that would lead to a total reordering of, okay, if no oil, then what are our other strategic interests? How do we go about reordering how we form alliances, how we look at our neighbors, and what goes on? It knowing humanity will probably fall to our baser instincts, but we aren't doing that well now either. So it, this will be great if nay, when it plays out. This will be great. I
They got like it has turned into when, because now, like you're saying, right? Markets are amoral. There has to be an economics case. Now, finally, there is a very clear economics
Yes,
case for it.
absolutely. It's a win. Yeah. That's great. I I have two young kids, and genuinely this story leaves me a lot happier than I was this morning.
Exactly.
That's
What's happening to me? What have I done?
that's an objectively better world, one with even lesser oil dependence, not even zero. I'm sorry, I'm not able to think that far,
Hmm.
but even lesser oil dependence is a good thing.
And there's of course a lot of the ESG world is PR, right? But so I follow a lot of these stories on Blue Sky, and there is just so much going on. Like Norway's emissions have fallen hell of a lot. They're building Norway is apparently building damless turbines. I can't tell if the story is still PR or not. I've tried digging deeper, but Google kept throwing AI search results at me. So they're building damless turbines that can power local villages along the fjords without actually causing any destruction to the local. Like dams are no, I'm in India. I will not say anything about dams. Dams are awesome. Uh, but yeah, there's so much cool stuff happening now
Hmm.
that there is a fair bit of a dichotomy of what we hear from the leaders, and of course there is a lot of PR behind oil, right? That no, there's no future for renewables. You look at what Trump is doing versus actually, even again in the US, in Texas, there is so much new solar coming up. In California, there's so much new solar coming up. So yeah, there is that dichotomy still going on. It's very interesting somehow.
I'll bring up another show. This is definitely not a recommendation. The show left me really disappointed. There's a show called Landsman or Landman, which is basically oil industry propaganda. Weird. The writing is weird. The world it shows is accurate enough, except for the very skewed ideological bent of the writing, which is weird. And yeah, it treats its women characters terribly. But yeah, if you want a better argument than I'm making at the moment for why the oil industry sucks, then watch a couple of episodes of Landsville. Just how it feels like what cigarette ads would have felt like in the 50s,
Oh god.
that these guys know that this is objectively bad and they're still pushing it down our throats. They know it's propaganda, they know it's lies, but they're still pushing it down our throats. That's how I felt
Now I'm curious.
watching the show. And weird, almost unlimited budget, superb star cast, and an actually nice premise, right? Here you have an industry, and I mean, authors have made their careers out of this. Pick an industry, set interesting characters around it, go, go, go. Airport thrillers, they're all based on the formula, right? Again, if in a world where we moved to solar completely and energy is virtually free, that has so many second order implications in terms of how many other problems it solves, right? It solves the problem of clean water, because if you can do desalination for free,
Yep.
then we have a virtually unlimited source of salt water, right? The ocean's there. That's that problem solved. Here you have an unlimited source of fresh water. What do you want to do with it now?
And just the whole ecology around coal plants. Like people say, oh, nuclear radiation, nuclear radiation. Coal plants release so much radiation into the air.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to mention all the other byproducts. And the coal
Mm.
mines, you go see. Never mind, I will not name specific places again. I am in India.
Have you seen that documentary, Kala Patthar?
Yes.
So good. So good.
So good. So good. Such a good. Actually, I should watch it again. Okay, I should watch five classic Amitabh Bachchan again. I'm not a fan of the man now, but five classic Amitabh Bachchan movies. Trishul, I just did. I will see Kala Patthar. I will is the Sholay. Sholay, I've seen too many times, but can do again. Kala
Yeah.
Patthar, Sholay,
Hum.
Hum. Yes, Kala
I
Patthar.
love Hum.
Hum.
I love
I love Hum so much. It is such an amazing movie.
Rohan Joshi made this great joke that Hum is the only movie in the world which is its own sequel. The first half is the prequel. The second half is the sequel. You loved Agnipath for late
But
Avatar. That's
I think one obscure. I need
movie.
one obscure. I need one 70s obscure. There were so many of them. I need a
Yeah.
full-on communist Amitabh Bachchan. I need one of those sickle and
You realize you've sidestepped Diwar.
sorry,
Diwar.
no Diwar I just saw. So yeah,
Okay. Which, I mean, मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता. It's such a good line. It's such good writing.
yeah.
The payoff comes so much later. And uh, Salim Javed were just something else at their peak. No,
I will
I
find one. I will
that
find one.
is really good writing. Another Amitabh movie. If you're okay with Hammy Amitabh, I think Shahenshah should be on the list if you can tolerate it. For
I remember I liked it a lot, but that was 91, 92, 93.
yeah,
Like
I don't think it
I will
will
jump.
hold up. I don't think it will hold up quite as well.
I don't think it rolled up at all.
Yeah.
Meenakshi Seshadri is always fun to watch. Like I wouldn't mind. But yeah.
And if you walk past a TV set slow enough, somebody will shove Suryavansham down your throat anyways. So
Oh God.
don't even count. I think we have a
Sit.
segue point.
That was one consequence of moving to OTT that I have not heard of Suryavansham in a long time.
Which is sad. And it actually is a great segue into my story. Are we done here?
Yes.
Awesome. For all the memes and jokes that Suryavansham has, for me at least, and I think I speak for much of my generation, that movie was Nayak, which, as you know from our WhatsApp chats, I joke about and meme about at least once a week.
Huh.
Right? I it's a terrible movie. It's transphobic. It's just bad. The VFX is bad. Everything about it is bad, and yet it's so alluring. A, for the dialogues, of course, because they're just iconic, but B, largely for that premise of here you have one guy who's just a common man and who comes in and who cleans up the system. So it's because of that myth of that larger than life tale of here's a complete outsider, here's a common man who came in and just ripped the system to shreds and weeded out all the corruption and all the inefficiencies and created utopia, basically. Right? That's Nayak in I'm not doing justice to Amrish Puri's fantastic acting, but that's Nayak in a nutshell. A similar story actually played out over the last 5 years, 3 years, over the last 3 years on a listed small micro capish almost company. And that's my only story for today. Shall we?
Yes. Let's go.
I finally managed.
Curious. That is quite the build-up.
finally managed to bring Nayak into the podcast. I'm very proud of myself. Rewind to 1993, and this small company was set up by one Mr. Garg, and he saw an opportunity. This was just after the economic reforms, or just during. So many of the large companies that we see now were actually set up after the government finally said we're going to get a step out of the way and let the free market and enterprises do its thing. 1993, Mr. Garg started a company and he named it Cupid, Cupid. Cupid was in a very glamorous, very sexy business. They manufactured condoms. All right. Yes, we'll save up all our condom jokes and you can let them all out at once. Wait.
Okay. Wow,
Uh,
no. One more no. We to start writing furiously.
it was listed in 95. Uh, from the get go, the Mr. Garg positioned Cupid as a contract manufacturer because remember Nirod, right?
Yeah.
The AIDS epidemic and the government promoting its own brand of condoms called Nirod, which were distributed for free and which were readily available, and which are a large part. It catalyzed sexual awareness, sexual education from like it gave a solid reason for the government to do it without bringing up the ghosts of the previous decade and all the unsavory things that were done then around population control.
Yep.
So, the way Cupid got started and what was its core business for the longest time was they were a contract manufacturer of condoms, primarily for the Indian government. Eventually, they realized that their quality is good enough to export to other countries, and so they got clearance from the relevant UN department, and they were the supplier of choice for condoms to Africa, large parts of Asia, South America as well, I think. And they were exporting from 1996.
Hmm.
This is B2G. So they were able to navigate, the tendering process and getting their quality control good enough for international standards. This was cutting edge stuff for its time and for an economy that it just integrated 3 or 4 years back. So really commendable what Mr. Garg built, the insight that he had, the company that he built, and the direction that he took it in. The more I studied those years, mm, I have like immense respect for what he was able to build in those 2 decades. So they were doing this at scale, right? They even like in 2006, they they had a production capacity of 400 million pieces of condoms a year, which is a lot, but people be fucking, so there was demand. And
Indian fewer kids we have today. Sorry, there's one joke I have to step in. Rest in keeping.
in 2010, they finally cracked something that they've been working on for the longest time, female condoms, right? And they made this their USP, female condoms.
Female condoms, huh?
Yeah. So they made this their USP. And again, it's such a great product because it transfers control and choice to the woman, right? It's such a wonderful thing. Obviously, they did not invent the female condom. It had been around for a while. It was called the lag from at one point, whatever. But they cracked mass manufacturing at a reasonable price for female condoms. And straight from the get go, they had plenty of export orders and virtually a monopoly, at least when it came to these government tenders. In 2015, I'm reading straight off the company annual report. In 2015, they received orders for 16-ish million US dollars for female condoms from the National Department of Health, South Africa. So they were like doing this at scale and at a reasonable price and with a sufficiently good quality, right? Seriously, for what the product is and all the change that it enables, fantastic, truly fantastic. In
And
20,
all This is all B2B and B2G. There's no their own brand.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, but yes, at this point, it was purely contract manufacturing, right?
Hmm.
They said we are a manufacturing company, and we know how to make this product and how to make it better and cheaper than most people in the world. And so this is our USP. We're going to only focus on this. In 2016, they began manufacturing lubricants as well, which they sell a lot of in sachet form, which again, not something that I was familiar
That
with,
makes
but
a lot of sense. Yes, that
yes,
makes a lot of sense.
it does. It does. In 2020, they increased their production to 480 pieces, 480 million pieces a year just for the male condoms. And it also got its first UNFPA. That's the UN agency in charge of population control and etc. For lubricant jelly, in addition to its condoms. So this was when they started moving from we are a condom manufacturer to we are a sexual wellness or sexual health manufacturer, still a contract manufacturer,
Hmm.
not a consumer brand yet, but they started redefining or more broadly defining who they are as a company, right? Because the channels are the same, the marketing teams are the same, all of it was the same. They were just broadening their catalog. Classic, right? In 2022, they started manufacturing IVD devices, in vitro. These are uh, tests that you can do, like the pregnancy test. Most of us are familiar with. You pee on it, and you have the result. It is reasonably accurate. But
Hmm.
the same form factor can also be used, or that cassette form factor in a slightly different way can also be used to test for STDs. So it can also be used to test for syphilis, for example, or HIV. You saw the scope broadening from we're a male condom manufacturer to yes, we also do female condoms, to we also do lubricants, to we also do screening. So you can screen your partners, you can have community screenings, and know that that what you are
That
at.
was new use of the term community screenings. I imagine movies when someone says community screenings.
It has been used in this way. Whatever.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. So this is where the company stood at 2022 on the cusp of 2023, where Mr. Garg, the founder, was now ready to retire, and the next generation were not too keen on taking on what is essentially a really hard business, because government contracts particularly have very errant cash flows, because you could have a tender that is about to close, and then 6 months later you go back and check on it, and it will still say it is about to close.
Or that person has retired, so then, acha, let's
That
start
does
again.
happen. And it's not even an India thing, right? This is worldwide. It does happen. Because like I brought up a couple of weeks back, I am following a lot of defense stocks, and almost all of them in the quarterly earnings, they'll have, yeah, that tender that we've been talking about for the last 6 quarters or 4 quarters. Yeah, it's in the pipeline. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way bureaucracy works. That's just the way government procurement works. So this is a hard business, right? Because you have your fixed costs, you have your variable costs. Even after you get the tender, you need to have the raw material and the people in place to manufacture it, supply it on time, encounter all those turbulences and difficulties, get the supply done, and then do the follow up for the payment. This is a hard business. It is a profitable business. It is a hard business. And so, no shade on the next generation. They said, we are not interested in this. We want out. So, for the longest time, like for almost 2 years, the company was openly looking for a suitor, for someone to come in and buy out the promoter. Basically, they had a 40-ish% stake, the promoter, and institutions were in and out, no long-standing shareholding from any FIIs or DIIs. So it was largely publicly held. Then in 2023, one Aditya Kumar Halwasia, who was all of 28 or 29 then, stepped in and said, "Yeah, I'll buy out the promoter." How he got the money and all that, we'll come to that later. But he acquired nearly a 42% stake in Cupid, and the markets went wild because this was for, like, if you go back and read the chatter online. from the say 2020s to the 22 to 2022 and even leading into 2023, the chatter was that this is a value trap. Cupid as an investment, as a stock, is a value trap because you always feel like you're getting 10 bucks for the price of 2 or 3 rupees. But then without an external trigger, without an external catalyst, that realization, that repricing will never happen. So yes, you bought something worth 10 rupees for 3 rupees, but if you die and sell it, you will always only get 3 rupees for it. That's the definition of a value trap. It's underpriced, but it is going to remain underpriced for a very long time. And in the meantime, you're missing out on other opportunities, of which there are plenty, right? And the constant temptation of let me just give up and get out of this. But anyways, Aditya Kumar Halwasia acquired almost all of the promoter's stake. That's also important. We'll come back to that. Barring 2%, which Mr. Garg's wife, she held it. So they probably decided, let's hold on to this 2%. And Mr. Garg was to stay on for at least another 3 years in an advisory capacity. But essentially, here was this young upstart, and he was taking control of what is this struggling Mufassil kind of lumbering old school business. And let's see where it goes. The market was quite excited because insiders or people who were following the stock knew that it will just take a small flint for Cupid to really take off, and that's what ended up happening. He did all the right things, said all the right things, made all the right moves for the longest time, because the inverse is true. For the longest time, Cupid was operating at like 96% production capacity, which for an Indian factory is spectacular because the company was in limbo, right? So Mr. Garg, the previous promoter, he he knew he's on his way out, so he did not want to make uh, like he was the lame duck in a way, right? He did not want to make any big moves that would jeopardize the valuation that he would get at his exit. And it didn't make sense because anything would take 3 to 5 years to play out, any new strategic shift. But as soon as the new guy came in, Mr. Alvasia, he said, yeah, let's do this. Let's expand production. We're going to have a lot more production capacity. We are not going to, or we are not specifically going to use that to chase down new contracts. But we have a brand, and India's sexual wellness market is pre-nascent. It is like in many metrics in terms of number of units used per capita above the age of 18, whatever, whichever metric you look at it by. And yes, they use this term, not me. The Indian market is underpenetrated, not me. Okay. So not my joke.
Wow. Wow.
So he said, we're going to add another factory. And
You pass on all the jokes I was holding back because I can't beat that. It's there in the annual report that sent you the screenshot if you want. They keep using the word market penetration. I have met the master and I have like bowed before him.
yeah. So, and whoever writes these reports is either totally tone deaf or really enjoys sneaking in these references. We have to do this. It is my dharma to do this, to put that in, you know. So, sorry. But anyways, so they acquired land because the company was always cash rich. They had no. It was a good business. It was just stuck in limbo. And immediately the value unlock happened. The stock started shooting up. Uh, in fact, Mr. Garg sold 42%, retained 2%. That 2% today is worth almost as much as the 42% that he sold.
It's
That's
gone
much.
up 20 times. How is the company valuations are up like what?
It's gone up about 13, 14 times
Wow.
since he sold. Yeah. With like only organic growth in sales. So this was pure value unlocking.
Hmm.
Because it's still too soon. Building a consumer brand in India is tough. So, but Cupid is trying that. They have their own brand of condoms now. Obviously, it's called Cupid, and they already know all the variants. They know how much of what sells where because they are the ones doing the contract manufacturing for Kama Sutra, for instance.
Hmm.
They are the ones who do the manufacturing. Kama Sutra, incidentally, was owned by Raymond earlier and is now owned by Godrej Consumer Products. Again, fascinating industry, Indian prophylactics. woefully underpenetrated, as the annual report says, but interesting nonetheless. So anyway, this company got acquired, got a hotshot new promoter, made all the right noises, raised money, bought land, expanded production, went into consumer, and all of that has led to just what a journey it's had in the last 3 years. Again, not investing advice, but
Hmm.
spectacular. And this is just the market repricing the potential of where the company can go. The consumer play hasn't started churning out significant revenues yet. They are aggressively expanding the IVD part of things also. Superb margins there, but it's a challenging market. The again, China is the elephant in the room here. They manufacture these at scale and at a cost that I'm surprised they are able to win any contracts, especially in Africa, where Chinese businesses have such a stronghold now. But yeah, in 2024, they bought land, uh, capacity expansion by the end of next year. Cupid will be in a position to manufacture 1.25 billion male condoms a year and 125 million female condoms, over and above the lubricants and everything else that they do. And just like Kama Sutra, they have also launched an FMCG range. So they have deodorants. They also have menstrual cups. They have they're modeling that part of the range after Safe, which is a great brand which has done some of the best marketing positioning of a new taboo space that I have seen in recent years. Even more than menstrual cups, the
Hmm.
just the premise of Safe, that women can do road trips and should reclaim public
Hmm.
spaces. Awesome. So yeah, those are the broad directions that the company is in today. Uh, there's more to this story, but let's take a pause here. Thoughts?
All the jokes I will pass on, except that Indians have historically had a reputation for underpenetration.
And nice.
Yeah.
Well
But
done.
also,
I'll allow that.
in general, the valuation jump as soon as the guy gets into the B2C space.
Mhm.
That tracks, right? Like the market in every sector seems to massively overvalue or price, let's not say overvalue,
Uh-huh.
massively price B2C much more than B2B. I have never understood why. The the multiples just jump if you're in the B2C space. They're just wildly different from B2B. Even though B2B is nice, steady, solid business, B2C, yeah, is tricky.
There are three reasons for that, I think. One is that the margins are better. Objectively, the margins are better,
Hmm.
at least gross margins. And so we'll put that big asterisk there. Second, it's much easier to scale. Like doubling capacity for Cupid was a 2-year project, despite having 30 years of know how. It was still a 2-year project because
It's much
done.
easier to scale for B2C than B2B.
And it is
It's
much
very,
easier to scale B2B sales themselves. Like you could be doing uh, 10 lakhs this month, and that could easily go to 20, 25, 30 lakhs next month if you pull the right levers
hmm,
or find the right pockets. Doing that in B2B is very hard.
yeah.
That's the second lever. And the third is that if you're a listed company, automatically, if you enter the B2C space, your retail investor list grows, and they are generally more generous with what they're willing to pay in terms of
Hmm.
valuation. So it's a mix of all three. You are more visible now to less savvy investors, and second, you can scale much faster now, and third, your margins, if you execute correctly, will be better. They'll follow that classic hockey stick of you make lose money in the beginning and then you find your PMF and just shoot through the roof. That's possible in B2C. It's still hard to do outside of tech in B2B. Can you think of any other industry where it's high risk, high reward, B2C?
High risk, high reward B2C. All of D2C, high risk, high reward. Again, coming down to which brand will take off. The brand that takes off, that somehow finds the pulse, will sell like mad. But there's so much competition in the skincare space and in the snacking space. Everything is protein now. I'm amazed I don't have a protein sunscreen yet. But it's like one brand will take off, but a lot of them will just fall by the wayside. High risk, high reward.
Okay. Take energy bars then.
Mm.
The category didn't exist. Just like once upon a time, deodorants as a category didn't exist. Like in the 90s, it was an indulgence, to see perfumes or deodorants which somebody snuck in from overseas, or which were grey imports. We didn't have any manufacturing here of aerosol deodorants, at least. Uh, Brands came in, brands went out. Foreign multinational brands came in. Axe did what it did to deodorant marketing and Indian ads in general. And the pie itself kept, I mean, the share of the pie kept changing. But if you look in the last 20, 30 years, it has gone from nothing to this enormous industry,
Hmm.
right? So I guess it would be a factor of when you enter the space. And okay, they're doing deodorants, they're doing all the other stuff that they're doing. But if I was in Mr. Aditya's place, and in case this podcast somehow finds its way to him, I do want to say, just promote female condoms. Make that your USP. Make that the thing that you're known for. They're actually trying for FDA approval right now. There is the US market is a monopoly. There's just one female condom manufacturer there, and they virtually have like total pricing power. They just charge whatever they want and get away with it.
Hmm.
And as soon as Cupid gets its FDA approval, they will be able to sell at much better margins, and still uh, it's their battle to lose. It's like they're right there because technically they're sound, and that's the most important thing you need for a healthcare product. They've cracked that. They have now almost 15 years of experience in manufacturing female condoms. So the US market is a thing. But for India, my I know it's really hard to change habits, especially in this space. But I would throw everything I had if I was in Mr. Alvasia's place. I would throw everything I had behind this. If you can get even 10% of Indian women to change the habit, because habits have changed. There is mass adoption of menstrual cups, which wasn't a thing, which didn't even exist 10 years back.
Yep.
There is, they have come into the mainstream. I'm sure the same can be done with female condoms. And you have like one of the world's best manufacturer of female condoms right here, and poised to enter the consumer space and market their own products. Don't don't dilute your focus. Don't dilute your resources. Just push everything you have behind this. I know it's a binary 0 or 1. If consumer trends don't change, then this doesn't pay off. But I think it's worth the risk. That would be my unsolicited strategic advice. But yeah, so that's like, these are all the nice parts of this story. But there are some unsavory parts as well, which I think we should address now. Mr. Halvasia's family has been mentioned in at least 3 articles that I could find. Of this isn't Aditya himself; it's his older brother, who's a partner with somebody in a Dubai firm, and that somebody has been named as the kingpin in the Mahadev Hawala scam. Do you know what that is?
Vaguely, very vaguely. I've just heard that it exists.
Okay. So just a large, unregulated, totally illegal, giga scale betting scam was going on. The scam is that uh, all of the bets were being placed by regular Indian folks, and a lot of them, like millions of them. And there was a really sophisticated network. All of this was done in cash, right? And the operators themselves, the tech stack, all of it was based in Dubai,
Hmm.
which is where the promoters still are of this app. These guys were making so much money that they flew in a bunch of Bollywood celebrities for a wedding of one of the two partners of the Mahadev app. And that's when the spotlight fell on them, and that's when the ED and all the agencies woke up and said, "What the hell are you doing? Where do you get this money from?" And then they uncovered this. Uh, but yeah, the end result was they had so much money and they didn't know what to do with it. So some of it they were funneling back into small cap Indian companies as investments, as pump and dumps. I don't know, but
Hmm.
like big enough sums that they were on the cap table. If you hold more than 1% of a listed company in India, even if it is a small company worth 2 crores and you hold shares worth 2 lakhs, your name will appear on stock screeners. Your name will be disclosed in the annual statement as well because you're a significant shareholder, right? If you
Yeah.
own more than 1%. So these guys own like 4-5% of multiple companies, including Gensol, by the way. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. And when the ED stepped in, they took I don't know what the legal term is, but basically they took over those shares. And so now if you go and look, for example, again, not investing advice, at the shareholding pattern of a company called Balu Forge, which makes, among other things, rocket casings,
Hmm.
the bomb Bala rockets. Uh, 4% of that company today is owned by the ED, according to the cap table. So that's how that happened. One of the people named there is a close associate of one of Mr. Aditya's own siblings. So, it's murky. Like, where did the money come from? None of them, to be clear, directly name either Mr. Aditya or the Halwasia family, which the family has been at pains to point out that, we are not directly implicated in any of this. It's just that a company where one of our offspring used to be a partner, he's no longer a partner in that Dubai firm, also had another partner who ended up being a major Hawala operator. We didn't know
Hmm.
is their cards. And sure, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you didn't know. Okay, no problem. After the acquisition happened of Cupid, uh, a few months down the line, fundraising was done under the guise of, we are going to acquire land and going to expand production, and great, part of that lovely narrative that I uh, painted for you just now. But suddenly, Mr. Halwasia, Aditya Kumar Halwasia, had also picked up a stake in another listed Indian company in a completely unrelated space. This was Indian Tourism Finance Corporation. All right, nothing to do with condoms or FMCG, or no overlaps at all strategically. But he invested in his personal capacity, and he also shares even today. So, okay, this is a large investor who has found a way of doing activism right, doing shareholder activism right, and he's acquiring a stake, turning around the company, growing it, selling it. Again, great, all above board, no issues.
Hmm.
Bizarrely, he said, not only am I investing, but Cupid is also going to invest in this. A strategic investment because it's a good investment. Because I'm going to, the
If
implication was,
people go, if people go to new places more, they will have more sex, they will need more condoms.
no, the tourism finance is for financing tourism infrastructure within India. But you're saying people travel within India to new places and therefore we'll sell more condoms. At least some of those will be Cupid condoms. Um, yeah, that's great strategic advice as well.
But forward integration, forward integration, backward integration, forward backward, forward backward, forward backward.
The markets were not happy. They said, no, we are not doing this. So, Mr. Halwasia is on the board of the Tourism Finance Corporation as well. That's in his personal capacity. Common enough. It does happen all the time. Not an issue. As Mr. Elon Musk so nicely portrays, it is possible to be in control of 5 massive companies and do justice to all of them. So much so that you command an Elon Musk premium on the valuations. Okay. Again,
By the way, I just realized this is the first mention of Elon Musk in like 2 months.
nice. We are in hour and 10 minutes in.
No, no, in 2 months, not just in the classroom.
Oh,
What
yeah.
happened to us? Wow.
Positive stories, no Elon. You're slipping, man. हाँ, क्या इन्फ्लुएंसर बनेगा रे तू? कब खून खोलेगा तेरा? Yeah. Anyways, markets are not happy. Investors push back because remember, more than 50% of the company is still in public hands, right? And now there were institutional investors on board as well. They said, no, you're not doing this. And so this is around the time that the Mahadev story broke as well. And so they stepped back, said, okay, we will invest in our personal capacity. Cupid will not have any dealings there. So that was what could be a big corporate red flag, if I was valuing the company, this is certainly something that I would put in a, okay, am I really sure about this investment column?
Hmm.
That, this happened, that the promoter even considered doing this. Forget about whether he went through with it or not. Even
Uh,
considered doing this is a red flag, because it means that despite owning 44%, the thought process is that this is my company and therefore my money, which does not work for listed companies. Okay, for all the additional leverage that you get by acquiring control of a listed company, that is one obligation you also have to bear. That it is not entirely your company. If you want to do that, buy out everybody else, and then it is your company. But as long as there is even one outside public shareholder, you're accountable to them. All right. Sorry, pet peeve. Uh, that was a second blip on the radar, which again, we'll be kind and generous and say, no, this is a young promoter and he just wanted to do what was best for the company. And this is hard. Being the promoter of a listed company is hard. You're under a lot of scrutiny. Okay. One misspoken word or phrase or number on an earnings call can tank your company, can send it into a death
hmm.
spiral. This is not an easy job. Okay. Uh, he's been doing that for 2 years. He's been on earnings calls. He's been doing well. So I think we can still give him a little bit of rope and say, okay, misstep, but well intentioned. That ultimately Cupid will benefit and Cupid shareholders will therefore benefit. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll let that go as well. The reason I bring it up this week or now, because all of this is like events of the last 3 years, 2 years at least. Last week, Cupid invested in a UAE based investment fund, which itself has two buckets. They do real estate investments and they do PE/VC. It was an undisclosed sum. We don't know how much was invested and at what valuation, whether it will go to the real estate arm or the PE/VC arm. I could not find much information on the website of who the portfolio companies of that fund are. And again, to clarify, Cupid is not taking investment from them. Cupid is investing in this fund, which
Hmm.
is again based in the Middle East. And Dubai was where all the events of the Mahadev app unfolded, right? So there is that, there is no direct link to be sure. And I did dig, I tried really hard. This is a totally above board, completely legal fund, but they are in the real estate space and they do private equity and venture capital, of which one of the buckets is healthcare. But if you look at the press releases, it seems like Cupid has invested into what is purely a healthcare fund, which it is not, by their own admission on their website. Markets are really happy. The stock has zoomed again. I did not know it was possible to go beyond the dream run that it has had. But markets took this as well favorably. That, it's the first step into getting a foothold into the Middle East. What I am having trouble understanding is how investing into a fund, like,
Hmm.
if I call up SoftBank and say I want to invest in you, I cannot say that I have made a strategic investment into Japan, right? Because I have no control over where that money will end up, and none of the, except for the financial gains, none of the benefits will accrue back to me, right? Unless, and this hasn't been made public, so I don't know what to make of it yet. There is a specific co-invest clause wherein the mandate is that this money will go, I don't know if UAE laws even allow that, this money will go only to healthcare investments, and Cupid has the option of co-investing at the same valuation directly, which is a thing that happens in venture especially, and in private equity also. There you go. That, here's my money, I'm putting it into your fund, your VC fund. You can go and find companies to invest in. But whatever round you're closing, before you close it, you have to come back to me and say, our fund of this vintage is putting in money into that company, and I will have the option of also investing directly in that company at whatever valuation. If that clause exists, then the premise still makes sense. It's still a stretch.
There has to be an explanation still. Like either they are saying, look, we're trying to diversify into new areas, hence this, or they're trying to say we're diversifying to new territories, but it's an unrelated area, right? So it doesn't count. If they were tying up with a distributor there within the same space, that is legit, easily explained international expansion.
Yeah.
This, yeah, doesn't fit any thesis. So therefore, it should be explained very transparently why
So
this is
as
happening.
of, as of last night, at least, no explanation was forthcoming. No official explanation was forthcoming.
Yep.
And yeah, there has been no shareholder pushback because the stock price has zoomed even on the back of this news. So it's different from the tourism finance incident in that way, where the company had to announce a deal and then walk it back and say, okay, no, we will not do the strategic investment. Here, I guess it has already happened. I don't know the implications of it. But again, to close the loop, because this is where my story ends as of today. But to close the loop, I love the story. Whatever. Again, the reason I'm being charitable is because I don't want to hold Mr. Aditya Kumar Halwasia guilty of whatever alleged sins his father, or brothers, or cousins, or whoever it is, I don't know,
Oh,
did, right? From what I can see and what is there on online from legit news sources, is that he had the resources, found a great target, acquired it, reinvigorated what is a great Indian company, and took it in a new strategic direction. Couple of missteps, still doing all right. Again, not investing advice, but I am genuinely curious to know where this goes, where this story goes, where Cupid goes, and what else Mr. Halwasia does after this. If for some weird reason this finds its way to you, Mr. Aditya Kumar Halwasia, I would love to have a conversation on or off the record about how you got here and what you're planning to do next. I'm fascinated. Objectively, I'm fascinated. So, yeah, I'm watch this space for more.
yes. I have no questions. I have no questions. It's a very cool story. Yeah, I do often wonder why every Indian family's dream is to get rich enough to have a wedding which involves Bollywood stars. That is one thing I will never understand. Why is that the epitome of wealth, of prosperity?
So this wedding was the Madhav app promoters Abdul Karim Lala Telgi dance bar moment. Mr. Telgi blew up a crore plus one night in a dance bar. Dance bar, kids, is look it up. I'm not going to explain that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look it up. Look it up.
Yeah. So it was that moment where everybody knew you had this infinite source of money, but do you have to be so gauche about it? No, you were doing
I feel
fine.
there's the like these people get an itch that I have to show what I have. I can't keep hiding it forever. Look, 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 look. Like it's numbers in my bank balance, but I need to show it. I think, yeah, I think there is that moment.
Yeah.
I think that only one way we can test this out is we need to get rich enough to have those hundreds of crores, and then let's see what we do. Like A/B testing. That's the only way out.
I have two kids, so I volunteer if you want to do A/B testing.
There's an Amitabh Bachchan movie right there. Parvarish is an A/B test. Amar Akbar Anthony is an A/B test, ABC test. There are many more. Diwar is an A/B test. I have no further questions. I have no condom jokes. It's a good story. It's yeah, great, genuinely, and good that they're promoting sexual wellness and doing female condoms. Yes, I agree with you. Let's hope it gets bigger. But two barbecue stories, two positive stories. What is going on? We're growing old, man. So yeah, see you, Nitesh. Just one story. We're growing more and more niche.
Yeah.
Gone from 3 stories each to 2 stories each to now 1 story each this episode. Rabbit holes, wormholes, and rabbit holes.
Yeah. Let's see where
True.
it takes us this week. Yeah.
Yes. See you, Nitesh, and see you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.